we are going to talk about the rumors. Is La'Jarius Sneed being traded to the Miami Dolphins a possibility? Also, is the franchise tag and Christian Wilkins not a thing that's going to go hand in hand with the Miami Dolphins this offseason? We're going to talk about that as the tag deadline approaches, plus some news on the combine and prospects that interviewed with the Miami Dolphins. Got a ton to talk about. As always, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. It's going to be a touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphins fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one, and I am riding solo dolo. This was originally scheduled to be a Dolphins After Dark, but you might be sitting there in a chair till you're a skeleton if I would have been waiting on people to start today. So I said, you know what? Let's roll it solo dolo. It's already 9:30 on a Sunday. Let's get it going. So here I am tonight for a late night one for you. I would have done it earlier had I known this would have been the case, but c'est la vie, here we are. Appreciate all of you taking some time to tune in. Already climbing to over 200 of you in the room. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the combine. I'm going to tell you this much. If you want an offensive lineman in the combine, holy good gracious, this is, man, you talk about the interior, when you talk about all the way out to offensive tackle, man, it is quite the draft class for tackles and interior help, whether you're looking for guards, whether you're looking for center, whatever the case may be. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm at a point where I've got Troy Fotnew on two separate. I've got him on the guard and the tackle big board on my side because, that kid, I'm telling you, he is just something. If Talise Fuaga or him are on the board at 21, the Dolphins are going to have a real conundrum in front of them. People want to ask me, hey, would you take Jackson Powers-Johnson or would you take the tackle? I'm going to tell you this. Troy Fotnew, I've been saying all along, he can play guard or he can kick out, and then he can kick out to left tackle when Armstead leaves. You could do it the same with Talise Fuaga. He played left tackle in high school. He played left tackle a little bit in his first year in Oregon where he played left tackle. He played left guard on field goals and extra points. So, and hey, I don't want to get into it, but everyone who wanted to argue me about Penei Sewell transitioning from left tackle to right tackle, you know how that went. And when I saw Talise Fuaga's testing, it just confirmed that I think he can make that switch from right tackle to left tackle if he's drafted. The options at 21 for the offensive line alone are stupendous. And another thing I got to say, that wide receiver class, ladies and gentlemen. I know everyone got caught up in Xavier Worthy breaking the combine record of 4.21, and I get it. But, man, a kid I've been hyping up since the Senior Bowl, and I'm going to continue to hype up for all of you, two of them. And I had them on my list, and we're going to go over my list and see how many, freaks we pointed out. But Xavier Leggette out of South Carolina and Lad McConkey out of Georgia, I continue to think they are perfect fits for what we want to do in this offense. Xavier Leggette, man, his testing yesterday running that they both ran 4.39 if memory serves me correct. And their testing yesterday was just absolutely phenomenal. You look at You talk about the perfect slot option, it's Lad McConkey. You talk about a guy like Xavier Leggette who you can put on the boundary, put out of the slot, put in the backfield, do so many things with. You know, I said it when the Senior Bowl was happening. Xavier Leggette seems like the perfect prototypical McDaniel receiver when you put on the film. You know, he's got the speed, 4.39. He's got the size. You know, he's physical. He offers you something after the catch. He just seems that. But then I look at Lad McConkey and I'm like, you know, sure, reliable hands. He's quick. He's a good route runner. Man, there are some definite studs in this class at the receiver position. There really are, and we haven't even got into, you know, everyone knows I'm high on Roman Wilson. You also got Ricky Parasol. A lot of you Gator fans out there, you know, you love him. Then you got Troy Franklin, you know, Donnie Mitchell, you know, Keon Coleman. FSU fans are loving him. So, man, and Washington just producing receivers at a ridiculous rate right now. So it's man, offensive tackle, wide receiver, guard, interior, it's a good time, man, because that guard class, I'm gonna tell you right now, you know, when you got Troy Fontenot, Christian Haynes, Cooper Beebe, Christian Mahogany, Graham Barton, if you want to kick him in, I think you should kick him in. You got Mason McCormick, Zach Sinter. You got a lot of great players at guard, too, that could play left guard, that could play right guard, and it's going to matter because we're going to talk about something today, and we're going to get into it here, an article that kind of set Dolphin fans on fire because two big pieces came out of it, but there was a third piece that came out of it that was ahead of everything in the article that no one really's talking about, that I want to talk to you about, and we're going to get into all that. And man, there's just a lot to talk about coming off that combine, coming off where we are today. We're going to go over some of the people that they met with. So, yeah, BB can play anywhere, man. You know, so can Jackson Powers-Johnson. He can play center, he can play guard. You know what I mean? Troy Fontenot, I think, can play left guard or, you know, left tackle. You know, I think there's guys who can play a lot of different spots here, man. You know, we haven't even gotten it. All you Miami fans, you know, what if they take Matthew Lee? You know, what if he's sitting around later? You know, at center. What if they take a guy like Javon Cohen, right? Javion Cohen, sorry. What if they take Javion Cohen or Matthew Lee? There's Miami options. There's Miami out of Florida options. We know they never take Hurricanes, and then look at, you know, I had a guy in my top 10, Dominic Puny, and you out of Kansas, and you see how he just tested. Phenomenal testing. You know, that's what I like about BB. You know what I mean? As a mauler, I think especially we're going to lose that, right? If Milton, I'm sorry, bro. I like his arm. But this guy can't hit a broadside of a barn, and he's one of the worst timing throwers in this draft. We have so many holes, and we don't have a third and fourth round pick. Why are we taking a quarterback in the fifth? You know, if Joe Milton is a UDFA, roll it. You know, if he's a UDFA, knock yourself out. Roll the dice. I like Sam Hartman, eh? I'm actually low-key. I've been Jordan Travis. No, get it. This quarterback needs to be a UDFA if you're going to get one. Brother, I've been a Sam Hartman fan, huh? You know, quietly, I've talked. If anyone's been listening to this channel for quite some time, they know Sam Hartman. I've been talking about him since he was at Wake Forest, you know. He had that really good 2021 and 2022 season at Wake Forest, you know, and then he came and did what he did with Notre Dame. Sam Hartman, you know what Sam Hartman screams? Sam Hartman screams that Brock Purdy, you know, late round, you know, he'll just do things. Like he'll just, you know, you get him as a fit in what you're doing, and he's just going to produce. He's just going. I don't want to call him a game manager. I don't want to say anything to that. But Hartman, I'm telling you, I used to watch him at Wake Forest. Like he seems like one of those quiet sleepers that all of a sudden, because he's just so by the book, when he hits the pros, it could click. That's what it feels like with Hartman. You know what I mean? Like, Now, I'm not sitting here. I wouldn't take Hartman, up inside the 5 rounds, but that's what it feels like with Hartman. Yeah, exactly. SVP, yeah. Hey, Senator Van Pran, I'm a fan. Everyone kind of crapping on him because of his athleticism, but everyone forgetting, he was pretty much, the consensus number 1 heading to this year. I think he's been overanalyzed, so, but yeah, honestly, if you're going to take a quarterback as a UDFA, right, I'm down. But we got so many holes right now. Now, free agency, we could fill up every single thing. Everything gets plugged up, and I'm sitting here saying, okay, you want to draft the quarterback in the 5th round, knock yourself out. Okay, but free agency hasn't happened yet. So as I sit here today, no. The Watchmister, a.k.a. Senior Relojes, says, so excited for the draft. I like Hartman, but if Milton is available in the 4th, we don't have a 4th, brother. I think you meant 5th. Get him. I'm just not taking a quarterback in the 5th. We got so many holes, bro. Scotty, beware of Mims. That guy tested like a freaking alien. And, I'm not gonna hate because, Mims, I got him in my top 8 at the position. I can't hate, but I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. Man, so much news, so little time. Tyler says pass on Milton. Listen, let's have a conversation here, okay? I've said this before. I'll say it again because I see people trying to make the whole Penix thing out now, okay? And Penix had one of the best classes. I've been on this channel and I controversially said months ago with Neil up here, controversially, I said I would take Drake May and I would take Penix over Caleb Williams back then. And it wasn't because of traits. Caleb Williams has far more elite traits than Michael Penix. But I've watched Michael Penix since he was at Indiana, right? I've watched him since he was a Hoosier. The work ethic he's put in to become the passer he was when he first entered college football to where he is now, those are things I look for that can translate at the next level. Work ethic, willingness to put in the work, and getting better from putting in the work, that shit translates at every level. Don't matter whether it's high school, college, or football. If you put in the work and you get the results, that translates. I like that about him. I'm a fan of that about Michael Penix. All right? And people think Michael Penix is dropping a little bit, right? Because I see some people now. The new theme is, and I see it from people who I know don't watch film, or I've never watched a lick of Michael Penix film. Instead, they want to show highlights of him throwing in a hallway. Okay, here's the thing with Michael Penix, all right? How can you want to move off Tua for Michael Penix when they're almost, to an extent, the same thing, except Tua's more accurate, throws with better anticipation, throws with better timing, and the injury history. All these people who are pushing Michael Penix are the same people who are against drafting Tua because of his injury history. What's the explanation for Michael Penix and his injury history? And I'm actually a Michael Penix fan. Again, I just prefaced all this with saying I said draft him over Caleb Williams months ago. And it ain't because of talent. It's because Caleb Williams looks like a freaking diva. Okay? Caleb Williams ate one crap, and when he's lost, he sat on the sideline sulking. Okay? His dad seems to be prying and getting involved, and that's the word coming out of the combine with scouts. Okay? He's out here. He was asking teams. He wanted teams to give him a percentage of the team. This guy wanted a percentage. You can't even do that with guys who are in the league right now. That is like, you can't do that in the NFL. But this guy wanted a percentage of ownership, okay? Okay? Now he's doing this medical thing. And I get it. He doesn't want his medicals passed around the league only to teams that have a shot to interview him. I get that. Okay, but what are you hiding? And on top of that, you're the first quarterback to ever do this. Why is Caleb Williams always in the news for the wrong reasons? He's not in the news for winning the Heisman. He's not in the news for, winning the national championship. He's not in the news for any of that. He's in the news for his demands, and he hasn't even gone to the NFL, or he's in the news for sulking on the sideline. Listen, again, go back to 2020. Who was the kid I was talking about who's coming out this year and won the Heisman? When people were talking about Justin Herbert, I was talking about Jaden Daniels. Because if anyone actually watched the Herbert film, you would have watched the Arizona-Oregon game, and you would have saw Jaden Daniels outperformed Justin Herbert in that game as a freshman. I've been high on Jaden Daniels. Now, at the beginning of the season, I did not expect him to have the season he had in LSU, and I don't like the fact that he hasn't bulked up. But I got more reason to take Jaden Daniels in the draft than I do Caleb Williams. But let's keep going with the quarterback thing. People want to know about taking a late round quarterback because it doesn't make sense at 21. We got so many holes. We got so many needs. They're about to extend Tua. I mean, what are we talking about taking a quarterback? You know what I mean? And these people saying this. But, you know, and this conversation of J.J. McCarthy going top 10 is absolutely ludicrous. But anyways, if we're looking at guys, like listen, you know, if you can get, you know, a Kenneth Slovis or a Devin Leary or Sam Harden or Joe Milton as a UDFA, sign me up. I just gave you 4 names. Devin Leary from Kentucky, Sam Hartman from Notre Dame, Joe Milton from Tennessee. I mean, hell, I'll throw in Jordan Travis for you Florida State fans, okay? Or Kenneth Slovis, who's been around the block, right? He's been to Pitt and USC and now BYU. You want to give me one of those guys at UDFA and go out there? Let's go. But why are we going to spend high capital on a guy after we extend Tua? Because it's coming. The extension's coming. When we got so many holes to fill. But again, I'm down. If you want to take a UDFA quarterback, 110%. Now, if we were coming off an AFC championship, running it back with a majority of the same roster already intact, already locked up, and we had cap heading into the free agency right now, or even if we were a divisional team last year, I would say, hey, 5th round, knock yourself out if a quarterback's on the board you like. Spencer Rattler, I don't know where he's going to go. He tested horribly. I mean, that guy's a head case. I mean, if Spencer Rattler's a UDFA, sign me the hell up for that. But I think some team will take between the 4th to the 7th, some team will roll the dice on Spencer Rattler. You have to think. But if you can get him as a UDFA, sign me up. But he better be humble real quick. He might be playing in the CFL at the rate that guy's going at. So, you know, but hey, like Jordan Travis, look at that. I mean, look at a guy like Jordan Travis, right? You could get him. He's been injury prone. You could sneak him in. Imagine if he comes as a UDFA because of his injury and stuff like that. I mean, I'd be down for Jordan Travis. I think Jordan Travis, you know my honest opinion, if Jordan Travis is healthy, I think he could beat out Mike White and Skylar Thompson. Get him in the pipeline. That would be interesting. So, you know, there's options, man. But I'm not in for investing, you know, big at that position. So it just doesn't make sense right now. Now, again, had we won the divisional, had we had the majority of our roster coming back and locked down, had we had some cap space, I would be sitting here before the before free agency tampering and the league year starts. I'd be saying, hey, right now I'd be saying, hey, I'm fine with taking a guy in the 5th round. But we got so many holes. What's crazy is I've tried to tell all of y'all that. Think about the holes relative right now to the cap money. Guys, if you really think about it, we have a 1st, 2nd, 5th, 6th. We literally need the 1st, 2nd, and the 5th round to be hits. And we need one of those 6th or 7s to be a hit too. Like, if you actually really want to think about it, at least in a depth standpoint, we need a hit. Like, we need one of those 5th to 7th round picks this year to actually hit. Like, that's actually, like, I'm not even stressed. Like, I'm not even gassing you up. That's actually the corner we've painted ourselves in right now. Again, free agency could change that in 10 days, but that's a reality of the situation we're at right now. So I need production potentially from that 5th round pick, not a developmental quarterback. Right now, I'm going to tell you this right now. And we're going to talk about the tag and everything like that. Man, if you could levy, because here's the thing. If you could levy one of these players that's walking with a tag and trade, and it could net you an extra 3rd or 4th right now, my God, do it. My God, do it. I know everyone's going to want a 1st or whatever first or second for a Wilkins or a Robert Hunt, but they're going to net you a third and a fourth compensatory pick. So just take what the compensatory value would be for this year, so we don't have to wait till next year. Plus, the compensatory pick will be like in the 100s. So just get it now. It'll be like at the back end of each round, right? So just get it now. That's where I'd be at. Even if it only nets me a third, I would tag and trade with Christian Wilkins instead of just letting him walk, even if it netted me just a third. Now, you play the risk. You tag him, negotiations with the team, and get a little, gray area. All of a sudden, you're on the hook for that money. It's a risky game. It is a risky game. But let's get into it because there are some things to talk about regarding what we were just mentioning. And let's start off with this article. I'm going to dive into it about 3 separate times for you guys. And the first time I'm going to dive into it is for a talking point that not many people I see are talking about, at least on X. Check this out. So this is from Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano from ESPN. This is the first excerpt we're going to talk about their article today. A surprise big money position. Let's put this into perspective. Do you guys remember last year? Did any one of you in the chat expect the defensive tackle market to balloon the way it did? Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Guard now might be the next one up. Shout out to you, Fake Spike. I don't know if you saw it last show, but I shout out your son, Grayson. Thank him for the donation. I appreciate him. Listen, last year we had a trench position blow up out of nowhere. Okay? Out of nowhere. And that trench position was defensive tackle, right? Interior defensive lineman. Now, is it going to be interior offensive lineman? Look at what Fowler says. And remember, I've told you, if you're a Patreon or a channel member, community tab or Patreon, you've heard I've been saying 15 plus million is what I'm hearing for Robert Hunt. Well, check this one out for you. Yup, good money will be spent on guards this offseason. So many teams need them and have targeted the position. And Detroit's Jonah Jackson, Miami's Robert Hunt, New England's Michael Onwenu, and the Rams' Kevin Dotson are among the top options. Remember, I only had 2 of those on my free agent list because of the price, and Michael Onwenu made it on because he could play left guard, right guard, and be an insurance policy for Austin Jackson, a right tackle. Don't look at this. Here's the line about those 4 guys. Don't be surprised if some or all of this group commands $16 million or more. $16 million! $16 million! Listen, I'm going to tell you the problem with this right now. I had this conversation with Richmond Webb. And this was told to me when it all went down, and I was told the numbers and stuff like that with the Patreon update and the channel member update for y'all. Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. They're not going to pay a guard because I see some people are saying, hey, tag Hunt. I would tag Hunt. Here's the thing, though, ladies and gentlemen. That tag is about 14. Let me see. That tag is offensive line. It's an offensive line. It's not a guard tag. I think it's like 20 million, almost 20 million. It is for 2024 to tag him would cost $20.985 million. Offensive line is 1 tag. It's not guard or tackle. Okay? You're talking like top receiver, top corner, like top tier money you're getting into, top tackle money you're getting into. You're talking about top, like, blindside protector money you'd be paying a guard on a franchise tag. Okay? Now, just for, so you know, the franchise tag for Wilkins is about $22.1 million, so it ain't much better. It's about $2 million more. So, you got a $20 million franchise tag. You can't. And I'm going to tell you this again, what I talked, you are not going to pay a guard that much money when you're paying Austin Jackson about, $12 million a year? Annual average is his income. It's either 12 or 12 and a half. And go look at Armstead's numbers, right? Armstead's just over $15 million a year. You're not going to pay. They're just not. That's not how it's going to work. His average salary is $15 million a year for Armstead. Okay. You look at Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson, his annual average is 12. They're not going to pay a guard more than the tackles. That's just not going to happen. I see you asking about the transition tag. The transition tag is $19.04 million. So if you don't get matched on that transition tag, you're still paying Hunt $19 million. Same with Wilkins. You'd be paying Wilkins about $18.491 million if no one matches on the transition. And listen, can I say to all of you? I sat up here in front of all of you. There's 400 of you watching right now. I sat up here in front of all of you last offseason when I knew they weren't getting a deal done with Wilkins. When you had people going in spaces, when you had people tweeting about me and Neil when we were out ahead. I remember when we put out the Fin Too Deep episode last year, and we talked about how they're not on the same page with money. And people are like, oh, you're being premature. Oh, you don't know. And we ended up being damn right and dead on with the money we were talking about too. We were telling y'all $24 million last offseason. Okay? So I remember all these people coming out here and saying, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Here we are. And when I knew last year, what did I say about Wilkins? I said, if he's not taking the money, pivot to Robert Hunt. I said, Robert Hunt is going to cost you between $8 to $10 million right now, given the market. Do not let this go another season or that market could explode. And here we are. Your market has almost doubled to what we could have probably signed him for last season. You could have locked him in for $8 to $10 million a year, and now he's asking for $15+ million a year because even when he was healthy, he may not have got the accolades of All-Pro and Pro Bowl, but guess what? What's the fact of the matter? He damn sure played at that level. He's our most physical lineman. He's our best mauler. The way that man moves for his size is a thing of beauty. And when we drafted him, I sat up here and I told all y'all in 2020, I sat on a panel with Ball Game and EM and them on another channel during the live reaction to the draft. And then we came here for the recap. And I told each and every one of you, this guy's going to be at an all-pro level. He's going to be one of the better guards. And lo and behold, he's about to be potentially resetting the market. And yes, we get comp picks if they leave. I believe if Wilkins and Hunt leave, we get like a third and a fourth. Like, I remember telling people back when we drafted him what this kid's trajectory was. And now we're sitting here potentially losing him because they didn't get out ahead of it. You could have got this guy for $8 to $10 million, and we'd be laughing as we see this guard market blow up. $10 million, you'd be laughing. You'd have Hunt for $10 million, Austin Jackson for 12, and you would have. And you know what's funny? Hunt getting paid $10 million, and then seeing Austin Jackson only get $12 million a couple months later. He would have felt decent about that. Hey, that's a blindside protecting tackle, only making $2 million more than me. You would have felt decent about that. But now, here we go. This is going to be the market, like defensive tackle, that blows up in our face this year. And this is why I've been saying, go the cheap route. Draft guys. And if you're not going to draft guys, bring back Isaiah Wynn. Or sign a John Simpson or a Damian Lewis or a Kevin Zeitler, who's 33, still playing at a high level, and will come cheap. But now it's looking like we're going to have to draft we're going to have to draft someone. I mean, you're going to have to. I wouldn't be mad if they double dip. I would not be mad if they double dip. If they take a lineman at 21 and a lineman at 55, I'm not going to be mad. At all. Now, here we go. Under this section, remember, we're going to be diving into this one more time after this. Fowler says under which cornerbacks could be available. Cornerback was a popular position of discussion in Indy, most notably for the trade market. And I know why. I'm going to tell you exactly why. Here's the deal. This is why, ladies and gentlemen. Because when you talk about, Terrion Arnold, Quinion Mitchell, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, and Nate Wiggins, how deep is it really outside of that? What, Cam Hart, TJ Tampa? I mean, how deep is that corner class really outside of those names when you start getting into the thick of it? So it makes sense, right? So here we go. Check this out. We know the Chiefs are working on a potential tag and trade with La'Jarius Sneed, with multiple teams believed to be in the mix here. The word out of Indy is that Detroit is pretty set on adding a high-end counter, so the Lions are one to watch. Miami is worth keeping an eye on too. Now, I had a Patreon update recently where I said Cam Smith is going to be given, from what I understand, Cam Smith is going to be given every opportunity to win that cornerback 2 spot. This team, I'm told, they are fine with rolling with Ramsey, Kohu, and Cam Smith as the top 3 corners, and then bringing guys like Needham back, seeing what they have in Ethan Bonner this year again, maybe bringing X back on a team-friendly deal or adding another veteran option. I named Ronald Darby and a couple other ones in my free agent. They're fine with that. But I did say in that update, if they could add a high-end talent, and I use Patrick Surtain as an example, they would be very interested. And La'Jarius Sneed falls into that as a high-end DB option at a young age. Now, here's where I stand with this. No thanks, but no thanks. And the reason why is this. You drafted Cam at 54. I've seen the tape. Y'all saw me walking y'all off a ledge last year at the draft when they took a corner. Even though we were warning you, corner was a sneaky position they could draft for. Like I'm warning y'all this year with wide receiver. That was a great pick then, and it's a good pick now. We've now learned things, and let's put some time together. Let's put some timelines together. We learned Fangio wasn't allowed to bring over his linebacker coaches from Denver. That didn't sit well with him. We learned Chris Grier. Cam Smith was a Chris Grier pick. Chris Grier is connected to those South Carolina, which is why Xavier Leggette makes sense. South Carolina, because not only the tape fits McDaniel, but the tie-in I'm about to talk to here. His son went to South Carolina, played with Cam Smith. No one's got better intel from those coaches and the people around that team than Chris Grier, okay? The film backed up the selection. He was a end of the first, top of the second talent. Me and Neil both had him going in the first round of our mock draft, if I remember correctly, last year. Our 3-round mock that we do every year, he went in the first round for both of us. So he's a talent. You got to see what you have in this. You can't go out here. Listen, I'm more open to, because the 21st pick is going to have to be involved. You're going to give them the 21st pick and then more draft capital, and then you're going to have to turn around and pay this guy. When you've already got Ramsey on the books. When you got to pay Holland, who's got a 5th-year coming, who doesn't have a 5th-year option coming up, and he's entering his final year. You want to get that done by training camp. You got to take care of Phillips. You got to take care of what? You do not need La'Jarius Sneed. I think with what Anthony Weaver's going to bring here with that hybrid aggressive defense, you don't need to make that move. I like La'Jarius. Now, listen. Would I sit up here and cry rivers of tears for us getting one of the better young defensive backs in the NFL in La'Jarius Sneed? Hell no. Y'all saw what he did on that playoff run. He was a baller. I'm not going to sit up here and cry. But we need picks. If you're talking about trading that 21 first-round pick, you better be moving up for Olu Fashanu, Joe Alt, or Brock Bowers if he's at 15. Or otherwise, you better packaging that, and you better be trading back to a team that wants to move up for Bo Nix or Michael Penix or a quarterback. And you got to be getting more picks, because I don't know about all y'all, but I've done my evaluations. I've watched the film. I'm finalizing my big boards right now. I just watched the combine, and all I keep saying to myself is, this team needs more picks in the 3rd and 4th round. That's all I keep saying to myself. So that's La'Jarius Sneed. Love the player. Would I cry if we got him? No, but not necessary right now. Now, if Patrick Surtain becomes available, I mean, listen, I won't cry for La'Jarius Sneed, but if we get Patrick Surtain, I'll probably do backflips. And I would get it. You're trying to get out ahead because you think Ramsey's going to be gone in 2 or 3 years. So that is going to become the major piece of your defense. But you've got Cam Smith. You've got Cater Kohu. Keep Cater in the slot. Let Cam cook. I mean, let's do, again, back to that timeline, right? Fangio, Greer, it was a pick of his Cam Smith, not a Fangio pick. Then go through the season, right? You got Cam Smith and Xavier Howard coming to Fangio and saying, hey, Cam Smith's ready to go. Put Eli on the bench. And what does Fangio tell them? Yeah, sit down. Don't worry, I got this. So you had players vouching for Cam Smith to get reps. We had that period where I believe we played the Giants and the Panthers. If correct me if I'm wrong, we played the Giants and Panthers in back-to-back games. And that was a stretch where I said, you need to start Cam Smith. You need to give him his reps right here. So you got players vouching for him. This is why I think this team, from what I understand, listen, unless it is a La'Jarius Sneed or a Patrick Surtain, I don't expect them to draft a corner with one of those first 2 picks. I don't. I just don't. So, thanks, but no thanks, La'Jarius. Continuing on, what lies ahead for Wilkins? Fowler says, while Miami's stance is that all options are on the table for defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, several league sources say he probably won't be franchise tagged. That would put a big-time tackle who had 63 tackles and 9 sacks in 2023 on the market. Houston is intriguing here. That's a name I've mentioned to my Patreons. Houston is intriguing here. The Texans have ample cap space, a quarterback early on, a rookie deal, and a playoff roster. There would be several teams in the mix, though. The Browns are always good for a splash or two. For instance, would they strengthen an already stout defense with a versatile defensive tackle? So there you go. I mean, he probably will get franchise tagged according to several league sources. I've been told through this process that one way or another, he's going to be on this team. I've been told they've even discussed 1-year deals with him. And they've got till March 5th. So there's still, till Tuesday, I believe 4 p.m. Eastern is the deadline. So there's still ample time to get this done. And I get why they don't franchise tag him. First of all, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, this is what I've said the whole time, and I'll say it again. Franchise tag is $22 million. $22.102 million to be exact. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? I could re-sign Robert Hunt for like 15 or 16 million. I could re-sign Isaiah Wynn for like 2 million. And I could probably go get Andre James for like another 9 million. So for $5 million more, I could get a starting center, a starting right, retain my starting right guard, and bring Isaiah Wynn back on the cheap at left guard. And then I could draft a left guard if I'm really that worried about Isaiah Wynn's health in the first 2 rounds. I mean, we've gone over the guys that are going to be available. I mean, you could literally draft Troy Fontenot and have him at left guard this year and kick him out to left tackle. I mean, and Isaiah Wynn as the backup behind him. I mean, there's so many options. And the thing is, again, see, you're seeing why, ladies and gentlemen, why the people who come out and say, well, Don't extend Tua, play him on the 5th year, and then if you don't reach an agreement, tag him. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what the tag was this year for quarterbacks? $38.3 million. The cap just went up. It's projected to be $43 million next year. You want to put $43 million up hard against the cap, and you can't move around with it unless you sign an extension. Like, you know, come on. I get it. That's a lot of do-re-mi, and that's not a lot of wiggle room. I know, Coach AJ. I've stayed away from spoilers. I'm going to watch a Revolution after the show. I've got the Penguins game playing right now against the Oilers right now up over here, and I'm going to watch Revolution when I'm done here. So, I mean, you know, that's the thing. People think that you could just tag a player. That's hard money against the cap you can't play with. That is legitimate hard money against the cap. Shout out to Fake Spike 94 with the $15 donation. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate it. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you for the donation, my friend. It means a lot. And hey, man, if you can't donate to the channel, do me the favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Appreciate you guys. And man, hey, there's almost 500 of you in the room, and it's, you know, late on a Sunday night, man. I love all y'all for coming out here and showing some love, man. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate all of you for coming out here and showing some love. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of takeaways there. Hunt could command $16 million. Wilkins, no franchise tag. And us eyeing La'Jarius Sneed. Now, I can say I know we've checked in on La'Jarius Sneed. It hasn't gone much farther than that. Okay? They're trying to get a deal done. Kansas City wants to get a deal done with La'Jarius Sneed. Their franchise tag on him comes official tomorrow. So they're trying to get a deal done. So nothing has gone further than teams checking in on La'Jarius Sneed. There's been no trade talks. All right? I want to get that real clear right now. All right? So let's keep it going, though, because there's a favor for all of you guys. Check this out. Oregon center Jackson Powers-Johnson formally met with the Dolphins at the Combine this week, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Called Mike McDaniel an amazing coach. Said it'd be an honor to play for him. The number one center in this class. The number one in, you know, if you got Troy Fontenot as a tackle or left guard, I got him as both. If you got him as a left guard, he's the number one interior guy. If you don't and you have him as a tackle, then Jackson Powers-Johnson is the number one interior guy. So at worst, he's 2. At best, he's 1. Now, for all of you who watch the Combine, he didn't run the 40, right? So we don't really have the splits on him either. He had good explosion with his vertical and his broad jump. Now, size, he showed up at 328, you know, 6'3", almost 6'3 and a half, 328. So he does not have a RAS. But it don't matter. It don't matter in the slightest. I'm telling you. Troy Fontenot, Talise Fuaga, or him, or Jackson Powers-Johnson. If those three are on the board at 21, you know, flip a find a three-sided coin and flip it. You know what I mean? Now, I'll tell you this much. I would take Fuaga or Fontenot over Jackson Powers-Johnson. Always take the tackle. Always take the tackle over the interior. And to be fair, you know, you're talking about my third and fourth tackle on my board. So my third and fourth tackle are automatically going to have a higher value in most cases and in most drafts than, you know, my top center or top interior offensive lineman. You know, tackles are, That's why they get paid the most money out of linemen, right? Positional value. So, don't tease me, bro. Don't get me going. Don't get me going, okay? All right? Don't get me going. Fuaga's a beast. Fuaga or Fontenot, I think they're home run picks. I think you got a guy who can play left guard this year and can kick out the left tackle next year. I think Talise Fuaga, no problem. He played left tackle in high school. He's played some left tackle and left guard on special teams, field goal and extra points. His first year at Oregon State. He's been moved to right tackle since. He can play all across the line, I think. I think he can play left guard, left tackle, or, he could play. Now, I would want Fuaga at left tackle in year 2. Fontenot, you might fall in love with at left guard. And Fontenot has the type. Fontenot could become the best left guard in the NFL by year 2. Okay, that's what that guy's ceiling is if you potentially kick him inside. So, but I still think he could be a stud at tackle. I've said that the whole process, that I would I would kick them at left guard. I would just give him the Tunsil treatment. That's what I've said the whole process. You give him the Tunsil treatment, left guard, and then you kick him back out to left tackle in year 2 when Armstead's out the door, right? So, Jackson Powers Johnson, I know everyone, and I want to say this, guys. Keep your options open. Find 3 or 4 or 5 guys you like at a pick. Don't get so locked in on one guy at a pick, because then the chance of your heart being broken, it grows, and then you might not just like the pick because you didn't get your guy. A lot of people fell into that trap at Darnell Washington last year. So, I knew my boy Sam Laporta, my man crush, wasn't going to be on the board, so there were no broken hearts over here. Now, speaking of tackles, the Dolphins did meet with a tackle, and an interesting one. Patrick Paul from Houston. Absolute. You talk about a guy who had, this is a guy who can play ball, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick Paul is a guy who can play ball. He just is. Now, if you remember, there was, there was in 2020, in the 2020 draft, Josh Jones was drafted 72nd overall in the 3rd round by the Arizona Cardinals. I was kind of high on him. I'm a little higher on Patrick Paul than I was on Josh Jones coming out. This kid, man, I'm going to tell you, this kid, he's legit. He is a good player, and he's a later on sleeper that, hey, man, that I like. And I wouldn't be mad. I'm going to tell you this much. I would not be mad if they're out here, looking at an option like Patrick Paul. I really wouldn't, man. When you look at this kid and how he moves, and when you look at just his overall body of work, man, he'll be a little bit more. He's no, Olufashinu or Joe Alt or Amarius Mims, right? But you're gonna have to put in a little work with him. But man, he's done some damn good things. I can't knock him at all. I cannot knock him at all. You look at him, and look at how he tested, ladies and gentlemen. I got his RAS right up here for you guys. You got a 9.69 RAS. Came in at 6'7.5" almost, 331. Had a 29-inch vertical. Had a great 10-yard split. Now, why do 10-yard and 20-yard splits matter more for offensive linemen than a 40-yard dash? Because how quickly do you get to the second level? How explosive are you out of your stance? You're not going to go 40 yards down the field and lay a block. You could go 10 yards upfield and lay a block into that second level, right? How quickly are you going to get out on screens? 10-yard splits and 20-yard splits actually do matter more for offensive linemen than 40-yard dashes, for all you wondering. So, that's a 10-yard split of 177 unofficial. That's pretty decent right there. That is pretty decent. That's an elite. That's an elite one. That would be an elite split. So, I mean, and if you do it, if you do the math, ladies and gentlemen, here's the other thing. If you do the math, would actually be the 41st best relative athletic score out of 1,306 tackles between 1987 to now. Patrick Paul put on a little bit of a show. All right. So again, a player I like. I would rank him around. I don't want to see. I don't like giving away my. I'm not trying to give away my big boards before, big board season's upon us. Right. I don't like giving that away. But I'll just say. I mean, I guess I'll just say this about Patrick Paul for me. All right. He is in my top 10. He's just outside my top 10. He's just outside my top 10 tackles. Just outside. All right. So, good player. But I think, again, we don't have our third or fourth round. And 55, I think is going to be too rich for Patrick Paul unless they really love him. I mean, based on my board, that's too rich. But anyways, continuing on, another player they met with, Braden Trice. He said he best fits a 4-3 scheme, but and this is because David Newton is a Panthers, he's a Panthers beat reporter. But in this video, Braden Trice pulls out his phone and he names multiple teams that he met with. Braden Trice, when you look at his body of work and when you look at what he does, again, the reason why I wanted to show this first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, what does this tell you? What does them looking at Braden Trice tell you? Edge is on the board. He's a top 10 edge in this class. You know what I mean? And he's a good player. Braden Trice is another one of these good players that, he could be a sneaky good selection. But again, 55, he's a top 75 player, but he's a top 55 player. That's what we come down to. But I mean, you're talking about a guy who's strong as an ox, can engage and disengage. And he's really, really good. And, I talk about this a lot. I mean, he's one of those guys where he got no problem, you got no problem shifting gears from, power to speed or speed to power. He's one of those guys. So, I'm a fan of him, and it's interesting to see that the Dolphins met with him. Now, in terms of his relative athletic score, again, incomplete. So, he didn't do any explosiveness testing or agility testing. He just had his 40 where he ran a 4.72. At 6'3", 245, he ran a 4.72. So that's pretty damn good if you ask me. But again, inconclusive score. But this is a position of need. Edge is a position of need for this team right now. Cameron Good isn't even healthy. So again, I talked about this. Latu, Jared Verse. If guys like this are on the board at 21, edge could be another sneaky. Now I know people are a little bit afraid of the medicals, but okay, Chop Robinson, trade back and get a Chop Robinson. I don't know. I think Dallas Turner will be gone. But there's some options there. Darius Robinson out of Missouri, Chris Braswell, Alabama. So there's some options there. But again, we pick at 21 and 55. That's 34 picks between. You know what I mean? So let's be honest. That's quite a gap. A lot can happen in 34 picks. So, and then the Dolphins did meet with another edge rusher, and that was Austin Booker. He said he's up to 240 pounds, wants to run a 4.55. That's what this tweet says. And he mentioned his interview with the Dolphins is one of his favorite interviews so far because he liked the staff. Again, this Austin Booker, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where everyone else has him ranked. I haven't even really watched a ton of Austin Booker, to be completely honest with you, because I didn't have him on my top 25 radar. I mean, that's just where I'm at. I didn't have him on my top 25 radar. I haven't watched him. You know what I mean? And I've watched quite a bit. You know what I mean? Now, I know he's only third year. And I mean, I've watched people like Nelson Caesar and Gabriel Murphy, and I haven't had a chance to watch him. So I'm going to have to go watch him. I was a little late on Edge, but, I have watched the Verses, the Latus, the Turners, the Trice, the Robinsons, the Elises, the Braswells, the Nealons, the Isaacs, the Camaras. I just haven't had a chance to watch him yet. So I got to get around to some Austin Booker. But yeah, anyways, his relative athletic score. So I can't sit here and tell you, where I'd draft him, but here was his RAS. And it wasn't great. I mean, 6'4", 240. He ran a 4.79 40. He had a great broad jump, 10 feet. His RAS was not good though. So, but yeah, he looks like he's going to end up being, either a late day 3 pick or, a day 3 pick in general, or maybe a UDFA slides through UDFA. So, yeah, I haven't watched them. I will watch them now that I know that they met with them. Whenever I find out there's players that they've met with them, either I've watched them or if I haven't watched them, I will go and watch them. So Austin Booker will be a player I'll watch and be on the lookout. I might have my first big board dropping before free agency opens up, people. Be on the lookout. Reasons first big board might be coming very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Be out on the lookout. I'm just saying. And I wanted to quickly just recap here. There were some players, because remember I gave you 50 players to look at the Combine. Some players I want to look at here. I hope y'all watched, some of these kids out here. Amarius Mims was absolutely out of this world with what he did. Xavier Leggette was awesome. Theo Johnson just tested nutty. So did Jared Wiley. Remember, I wanted to see how a 6'7" guy would test, and he tested out of this world. Kingsley Sumatea, he tested fantastic as well. There were a lot of good guys, and I was really happy watching a lot of the guys I had named for you guys test so well, because that means that I had basically given you guys the right path to follow. I mean, look at how good Tyler Guyton, we talked about him during the Senior Bowl, and look at how good he tested, right? He had the 35th best RAS out of 1,293 tackles. It was crazy. 6'7" and a half, a little over 6'7" and a half, 322. Had the 34.5 vertical. Had that 178 unofficial 10-yard split. Right? There was a lot of good testing here on this list that I provided for all of you guys. And I'm so glad. And I'm so glad. Honestly, it wasn't even about being right. It was I wanted all y'all to have the eyes locked in on the right prospects. Look at Christian Haynes, a kid I've talked about here for quite some time now. He had the 93rd best RAS out of 1,421 guards that I've ever. I don't know if you guys saw, but he put up some crazy elite speed grades, right? He put up a 175 10-yard split. It was nuts. And then you talk about a guy Cooper Beebe, right? He put up a 178, I believe it was split. No, 175 split, sorry. Because he ran a 5.03 40 at 322 and 6'3". Had a broad jump just over 9 feet. Holy jeez. And then, we all know how good Fontenot how good he tested, right? I mean, he was just out of this world, you know? He was just unbelievable. I think when it was all said and done, he had the 80th best RAS. He had a 9.4 out of 10. 80th best RAS ever. Had a 5.01 40 at 317 pounds, 6'3.5". Had a 32.5-inch vertical. Had a 9'5" broad jump. Like, man. And then, I mean, you know, I just talked about him, right? You know, Patrick Paul and how good he was, right? And you saw his RAS, right? 6'7", 331, 177, split, like crazy. You know, basically elite size and elite speed grade for Patrick Paul. And then one I got on here, and we got to talk about, because everyone, Amarius Mims, that man made himself some money at the Combine. Say what you want, but Amarius Mims made himself some money. He made himself some money. 6'7", 340, ran a 5.07 40-yard dash, 178 10-yard split, had a 4.33 shuttle, which is elite, had a 9'3" broad. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I led you to the water. It was about whether you were going to drink with these names. I mean, Lad McConkey, right? Lad McConkey had a pretty decent day. Ran that 4.39 40, right? That was huge. Elite speed now, 5'11 and a half and 188 wasn't ideal, but he had a decent vertical and a decent broad jump. He had a decent day. But Brian Thomas, my God, another one you guys have heard, you know, just Neil Driscoll, just love him, and rightfully so. He had the 10th best RAS ever for a wide receiver. 6'2", a little over 6'2 and a half, 38 and a half vert, 10-foot 6-inch broad jump. I mean, disgusting. 4.34 40-yard dash. Unbelievable. So, I mean, there are names on here where if you were watching the Combine, I hope you enjoyed it. And, I mean, we can get into defensive here. You look at Leatu Latu and how he, you look at Jared Verse. Go look at Chop Robinson, one of the names I highlighted here. Chop Robinson had an absolute unbelievable day, right? Now, his size wasn't perfect, like 6'2 and a half, 254, but the guy ran a 4.48 40, had a 34.5-inch vertical, had a 10-foot 8-inch broad jump, had a 4.25 shuttle. Oh, look, I had Braden Fisk on here, and we all know how Braden Fisk was one of the freaks that made money this weekend, right? He had the 6th best RAS out of 1,620 defensive tackles from 87 to 2024. 6'4", had a 33.5-inch vert, you know, a 9'9" broad jump, you know, a 4.78 40. Unbelievable. A 188 10-yard split, a 4.37 shuttle. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, there were some studs on here. I mean, I got Nate Wiggins on here, and, you know I was talking to Martin before I went live here, and we all know what Nate Wiggins did. Nate Wiggins went out there, and he put up a 40 of a 40, right? I mean, 4.29 40-yard dash for Nate Wiggins. Right? Like, that was huge. Peyton Wilson had an absolute day. I mean, when he was up there testing, Peyton Wilson was massive, right? He had the 52nd best RAS ever out of 2,649 linebackers. I mean, he ran a 4.43 40, 2.58 20-yard split, and a 1.54 10-yard split at 6'3", 233. Absolutely beautiful stuff. It was just great to see him put it in. And one that might have, you know, well, I know it didn't fly by everyone's radar, but, you know, it was an interesting time this weekend, and I'm just glad I could lead you guys to so many good hits. So I appreciate all y'all coming through. Over 400 of you in the room today. We had over 450. We had almost 500 people watching tonight on a Sunday night episode. Appreciate all of you for coming through. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And hey, it's about to get interesting because we're going to find out in the next 48 hours what the deal with Wilkins is. We're going to get more concrete answers and not just speculation. So here we go. Appreciate all y'all for coming through. As always, fins up all day, every day until Margaritaville sends a cease and desist our way. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Take it easy, guys.